97.9 GRD rocks. Johnnie Walker with you, and I've got a special guest in who's playing at 20 Monroe Live tonight, and it sold out quicker than every other show for 20 Monroe Live. In fact, I think it's the only show that's sold out for 20 Monroe Live so far. It's the Shinedown show tonight, and I have special guest Brent from Shinedown. How you doing, man?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me.
You had yourself a good Christmas holiday break.
We had a wonderful holiday break. Everybody is rested and feels good, and New Year started off rocking. So that's always a plus. And yeah, we put this show on sale last year, and it sold out really, really quick. We were super stoked. But it's been a minute since we've been to this part of town. So
yeah.
And it's a beautiful venue, and we're very, very honored to be able to be there tonight and lay it down, man. That's why we came.
Yeah, you guys have been touring on this album for, almost a year and a half now.
Yeah, and we're on the fourth single right now, which hopefully in the next couple of weeks we'll be able to say that we have another number one at Rock Radio, which we'll see what happens. But it's crazy because it's the 23rd single that we've released as a band. So I'm talking about How Did You Love, but. The other day, I realized that it was the 23rd single that we'd released. So that's I have to say thank you to all of Michigan for that.
That's insane.
For giving us a job.
I hadn't even thought about that. 23 singles.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. Wow. I believe you've played every single one of them, so thank you very much.
No worries. They're good songs, so why wouldn't you play them? So far on this tour, what's like a standout highlight for you of this tour? Is there a special show or a special place you've gotten to play that you've never played before, or...
Well, the interesting thing, going back to 2016, I mean, we toured a lot internationally last year, and this is the first show that we're doing of 2017 because we're in the process of, we just began writing the 6th album for Shinedown. But this is an interesting year, too, because we're going to be doing a West Coast tour that starts at the end of March, and that's going to go into the Iron Maiden tour that we have in the UK and Europe. In May. So we're actually kind of looking forward to some shows in the future here. But I got to be honest, last year was a pretty groundbreaking year for us. We were able to do a lot of things that we hadn't done in the past. We were able to go to, some countries that we'd been waiting over, close to 2 decades to get to. We went to Japan for the very first time. Went to South America for the very first time. So we've just been very upfront with each other that we're always looking for another glass ceiling to break, man. We're never going to be a band that's ever going to be satisfied. We always want to do what the way that we see it is, you have to push yourself as an artist. You have to push yourself as a performer. The audience does not deserve anything but your absolute best. So yeah, I mean, we're always looking for a bigger mountain to climb. So that's really the way that we look at things. And everybody came into 2017 feeling really, really strong. We knew that we were going to play. This was going to be our first show of the year, and we're going into an area of North America that we absolutely love, even though it's a little chilly for some of the Florida boys. Yeah. But we're stoked to be here, man.
And you mentioned that you got a great tour coming up in England and Europe with Iron Maiden. That's got to be super exciting.
It's a little bit overwhelming in a good way, quite frankly, because we played in June of last year. We did that whole month in Europe, and it was all festivals. So Maiden and Rammstein were like the headliners of all those festivals in multiple countries. So we were on that circuit with tons of other bands. And they actually saw us play live. We were at Download. It was the only UK show. And it was our first time on the main stage. So it was about 85,000 people. And Steve Harris actually came up the last 6 songs of our set up there and went and talked to our booking agent. His name's John Jackson, who's actually also booked Iron Maiden for over 30 years. And we just recently signed with him about a year ago. He put the two of us together, and the band themselves, Maiden, they actually asked us if we would come and do this tour with them, and we were just really blown away by that. But they dug the band. They didn't really know anything about us, which I thought was rad. Yeah. That they just dug what, Steve Harris came up, he just dug what he heard backstage. But they're being really cool to us. They're giving us 55 minutes, and it's just us opening up for them. There's no other bands. So it's a huge honor.
And they never choose slouch bands, so it's like a big compliment to you guys. They always have fantastic bands on tour with them, and
Well, thank you. We definitely will take that and run with it.
So it's going to be an amazing bill. I wish that was happening here in the States. You guys,
well,
that
you're
would be
getting
awesome.
you're getting still, I believe, or at least North America is getting Ghost and Exodus, and I don't know the other band, but they've got like 3 other bands with them for North America. Because I know they're doing.
It's Iron Maiden and Ghost for most of the tour, and then San Bernardino, it's Iron Maiden, Ghost, Camelot, and Exodus.
Nice.
Which is a great show. I'm thinking of going to San Bernardino to see that one. It's going to be an amazing show.
Absolutely.
So
Ghost is amazing too. We did a bunch of festivals with them last year as well, and they were. I mean, I'm not going to take away their mystique or anything, but they're actually really, really great guys.
Oh yeah.
And one young lady, because the bass player is a female.
Yeah, they just got themselves a new bass player a little while back. Yeah, really, really great band. They were here a couple times last year. Fantastic band.
Yeah. Super, just really eclectic, man.
Yeah.
I heard Square Hammer and was like, that's super, super rad. I mean, it has a little bit of a throwback from, kind of Blue Oyster Cult, from back in the day, but just a really cool, innovative sound. Everybody talks about like the subject matter, but I think you have to just ask yourself. I wouldn't read too far into it. I think they look at it as it's very much performance.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's performance art, and it's done very well.
Yeah, and they're great songs that they put out. Now you mentioned in there something I was going to ask you about, because it's been almost a year and a half since the album came out. I was going to ask you if the itch has started to write a new album, and you mentioned you are starting to work on a new album already.
Yeah, we actually already started. I have to say this up front. He took it upon himself, Eric Bass, our bass player, which he's way more. If you've ever seen the band, you know this. He's way more than just a bass player. But he's actually the producer, and me and him wrote Diamond Eyes together, going back in the day with the movie Through the Looking Glass with Johnny Depp and Tim Burton. Me and him wrote Her Name is Alice. That's his production. The production on Threat to Survival for the song Cut the Cord, that's me and him wrote that song, but that's his production with the band. When we were with Five Finger Death Punch in 2016, and we did those 36 cities, he instinctively every day at the beginning of that tour, he said he was going to walk in every day and he was going to write a composition and record it. So he actually has 22 pieces.
Wow.
That I actually just heard 5 of them for the very first time, because I didn't want to hear them when I was on the road, because I was in a different mindset for myself just with the production of that show that we were putting on last year. But I've got a lot of homework, let's just put it that way, because what he's written, and it's not lip service, man. What he is tapped into here, it's quite remarkable. I think people might be looking at the first legitimate concept record from the band.
Oh wow, that'll be really interesting to hear.
Yeah.
You got a lot
concept
of songs
records
to dig
take
through.
a lot of work.
Yeah,
take a lot of work to make everything cohesive.
You gonna do a double album thing with 22 songs, or just kind of?
I don't know. I mean, I can't guarantee that like all of them will make the record. It's one of those things when you go into something, and because we haven't done that in a while, like where I come in and I actually have a lot of music already ready for me to be for me to listen to. A lot of times, and especially because Madness and Amaryllis and even Threat to Survival, that was a lot of we all got in the room together, and it's not necessarily that it was pulled out of thin air, but everybody was in the room with each other, and the concepts were drawn out, at that time. Yeah. It's been a minute since I've walked into a room with compositions that are not necessarily finished, but they're laid out. There's some groundwork done. So I'm actually looking forward to that, because it's inspiring.
Yeah, it's
cool because
different.
he was inspired every day, and you can hear it in the music.
Yeah. Speaking of inspiration, what were some of the earliest inspirations you had that got you into becoming a musician and singing and doing the thing that you're doing and getting into the rock world? Albums, musicians?
I have to be honest. Like, I remember about 2.5, 3 years old. Everybody thinks that I'm making it up, but it's really not. It's by no means prefabricated or made up by any means whatsoever. I remember knowing I wanted to be a singer at probably like 2 or 3 years old, mainly because I loved Waylon Jennings' voice, because I was into the Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah.
I remember my grandmother got me a 45 record of like the theme song, and I remember like listening to that, and I just loved his voice, and I always kind of I knew I wanted to sing, even though I didn't know what singing was at that time. But I was really I didn't really get it until my dad. I was listening to like old school punk rock and some 80s stuff like in the fifth grade, from like, my middle school years. So it was just kind of like a mixture of a bunch of stuff. But when I was 14, my dad handed me an anthology cassette. And I know I said cassette, but that's what he handed me. And it was of a guy named Otis Redding. And Otis Redding was my introduction to just being extremely passionate in regards to the way your voice sounds, and then also lyrically putting forth, you could just hear the intensity flying out of the stereo speaker. And Otis Redding got me to Al Green, which got me to Sam Cooke, which got me to Percy Sledge, and then those cats got me to Nina Simone, Ella Fitzgerald, Billie Holiday. And then I kind of went in reverse. I found out about this band from Birmingham named Black Sabbath. And then that kind of took me on a different trajectory. And then I found out about Led Zeppelin. Like, I didn't listen to the Beatles until I was 24 years old.
Wow.
I'd never literally heard a Beatles record. I listened to the White Album for the very first time when I was 24. And I think I had more of an appreciation because I was a little bit older. But I remember from that and being about the same time with Otis Redding, I also figured out Appetite for Destruction from Guns N' Roses. And my goal was to be able to hit all of those notes, which I could do at that time. I don't know if I can hit them now.
Well, we can all do that when we're young. So you just squeeze really
you
hard.
Just got it. But I got to give it to Axel because he's he's slaying it. He slayed it all last year, man. And I got to give him a lot of props. But yeah, man, I don't pigeonhole myself. I won't allow it. There's a lot of peaks and valleys. I'm very, very influenced by all kinds of music. I love pop. I truly, truly do. I love hardcore punk rock. I will always be in love with that for whatever reason. I love, in my opinion, the metal that is evoked with a great singer, like Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
Like the metal that has like the great singers.
Yeah.
The guys and girls that can really, really hit the high notes. That does it for me.
Yeah. So that's what got you started. Who are some of your influences now? Some bands that you found, newer bands, or maybe bands that you just kind of found along the way that really, really do it for you now?
You know what? In 2015, I really kind of waved a flag for a band called Highly Suspect.
Oh, great band.
I adore those guys. Johnny's a good friend of mine. I'm extremely proud of him that he has a Grammy, and the guys have a Grammy nomination this year. It's not their first Grammy nomination because that record in 2015 was called Mr. Asylum, and it just blew me away. Yeah. I hadn't heard. It was a 3-piece that made like a lot of noise.
Yeah.
So I'm really into them. And I thought that, this new record that they have and the new song that they've got, My Name is Human, I think that's great. So pretty influenced by them. There's so many, we'd be here forever. I mean, that's one band like off the top of my head. And oddly enough, they're getting a little bit of criticism for their new record. But their last record, The Pretty Reckless, I just kind of went back and listened to not the current one, but the last one. I believe it has like Follow Me Down to the River and Way Down Below and stuff like that. But there was a song that I heard, it wasn't a single or anything. It was called House on a Hill, and it got me like a month and a half ago. I just happened to cross by it and listen to it. That's actually a pretty righteous record. Like I said, there's a lot of bands out there right now that are doing really, really good work.
That's glad you stay involved in what's coming out, and keep in touch with all the stuff
that's the great thing too. I mean, with the way that the world is right now and the consumption of music, there's a lot out there, and I think that people should be. I think that they should understand that that's a privilege, especially now with the way the industry is and the way that, professional musicians, we make our living and we're able to go out and really do what it is we truly, truly love, and that people are able to find out about artists that they would have never known about had it not been for the infrastructure that we have and the fact that technology in regards to listening to new music and any music you can think of, it's literally at your fingertips. And I think that's a good thing because what that does, it inspires people.
Yeah, it's a very exciting world for music and being able to get music. Brent, thanks for coming by.
It's my absolute pleasure. Thanks for having us.
And everybody look out for a new double concept album
Yes.
from Shinedown very soon.
You heard it first. Right here in Michigan. It was born. The idea was born.
There you go. So now we're all expecting that. Thanks again for coming by, Brent.
It's my pleasure. Thanks a lot.